for. This video's topic is nature. As you can see here, I do fiddle about with the settings as I do this digitally with a Wacom tablet and my laptop using the software called Medibang. I had some issues with the softness of the brush and how it kept going all crinkly, but I ended up just going with it and it didn't affect it too that much, so it was okay. For this project I wanted to highlight all my favourite things about nature and what I wish to accomplish within nature. One of my biggest dreams is to move into a tree home / house and become fully self-sufficient using solar energy, water, kinetic energy and all of that good stuff. The idea of just being completely secluded from the outside world and making money absolutely worthless to me because I have my own supplies and my own way of living is just one of the most bestest ideas I've come up with in a long time. This first piece is depicting what I think the outside of my tree home would look like. I start off by using just a regular black pencil and going in and sketching. Not really using any guidelines, just going from what is in my imagination. Now as you can see, it's not screen shared. I haven't been able to find a software that can record my screen that is free, so I had to improvise and put my phone in the selfie stick that I got the other day, and I just propped it up where you could see the screen. I do apologise, it does look a bit whack because of the light hitting it, but it's the best I could do. The theme of my tree house is very much, I want it to look wacky but also really cute and like cottagecore sort of aesthetic. Here I'm just going in to do the paved stoning / rocks up to my wonderful tree house. My vision was I'd have like these cute little vine ropes that I'd make and these sticks, and I'd have like a little walkway up to my tree house. The ladder is detachable so I can stop people from getting into my house. If you didn't know this about me, which you probably don't, I grew up in a tiny little village called Weston, which is a village in a valley, and there's a bunch of woods nearby, and when I was little I would used to go and explore the woods and probably put myself into some dangerous situations that should have been supervised by parents. However, that was not the case, but I'm still here, so nothing too serious went wrong. Once I'd finished the sketch I went in with some of the colours. I just used, I think this was a watercolour brush, just so I could blend some clouds in and make it look softer, just changing the sizes and opacity here. Because of the way that the screen is positioned, these colours look a lot darker than they are. That is not black, funnily enough, it's a dark brown. Here I start to look for references, colours of trees and forests, because it's always good to have a reference for colours. I'm just adding in the file now to get the colours so I can use the eyedrop tool and select the same colours that are in the actual picture of the forest. As you'll see a bit later on, I do adjust the colours to the colour scheme that I want and not so much the realistic darker colours. I knew this idea of living the dream in a tree home, being self-sufficient, living a simple life with no social media, no anything really, no responsibilities after looking after yourself and your animals. I definitely needed to include it because it's basically where I want to end up in life, and thinking about that I could eventually one day have this life brings me a lot of happiness and makes me feel very giddy inside. For this project, I wanted to go with a very whimsical and fairy, mystical sort of aesthetic, as that is what my dream is to be. And finally I decided to change the camera angle so it looks better. Well done me. Now, before I started this project, I have gotten in about a year worth of practice using my tablet and the software I was using, so I think that also gave me a heads up for this project. I think the thing I struggle with most when it comes to digital art is picking colours, as there's so much choice. It's so easy to get the total values wrong and mess up the entire image with colouring wrong. So you would expect colouring to be the easiest part, because what is it there to do apart from simple colours? A 3-year-old can do that, as some might would say. But it's a little bit more. It's like adding shadows, picking the colours for shadows, picking the colours for highlight. It's a whole ordeal that you have to slowly learn by yourself. Practice makes perfect. So over the last year I have definitely gotten a lot better with colour and saturation and hues, and I've learned a lot more. Something that was taught to me by one of the most famous painters there are is Bob Ross, and he taught me that things in the background are usually a lighter value rather than things in the foreground. Thank you, Sir Bob Ross. In secondary school, I went to a very stuck-up school. He was like, it wasn't a private school, but they acted like they were. Let's just say my art teacher was very against digital drawing. Very much against, in fact. So he never even attempted to try help me with that. So that wasn't fun. So I did have to try and teach myself how to digitally draw, and I think I did quite a good job. A lot of the process when it comes to picking colour is trial and error. Because on that little grid hue slider thing you see, the colours look a lot different next to different colours than they do on your canvas, so you do have to try out different things now and then. But that's okay. Better artists than me would create palettes where you can save different colours. Worse artists would just say, oh well, and pick whatever colours, so I'm nice in the middle of the sweet spot of trial and erroring it. Prime example you can see here, me trying to figure out how to make a colour that looks like rope without looking at a reference of the colour rope. So I just went into the tree colours and used my eyedropper tool, found one that was similar, and then adjusted that after I filled in all these rope bits. For the perspective, I didn't use any grids or anything, as I said, but the suede sort of knocked over fence effect was intentional. I wanted it to look like it had been worn in by storms and weathers, and that it wasn't brand new, because that's my whole vibe. My whole vibe is reusing things, even if they're a little bit wonky. And with that, and a few little touch-ups, adding some flowers, this piece was done. It was quite easy. It took a while, but most drawings do. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think one of the biggest problems I had with this piece was once I actually downloaded it. As you'll see in a second, the final result is not representative of the colours that my monitor shows. So this is slightly problematic, but I can adjust it using other apps on my phone. However, that is quite a hassle. I think this is one of my favourite drawings I've ever done. It's exactly what I imagined, and it's perfect in my opinion. I could have added some more details into the background, but I think that the simplistic look really brought attention to the treehouse and the little bed inside. I could have added more detail inside, but I think that would have just been overkill. I guess I could have refined it more, however, that's not very much in my art style, and the rough sketch look is very much how I like to draw digitally, not so much the stiff, neat, long, straight, curved edges that look perfect and neat. That's not my style. I think if I was going to do this again, I would try and see if I could fix my monitor colours so that they match closer to my phone. Other than that, I'm very happy with how this came out. Nothing about the setting I would change. I think it's very beautiful and it's exactly what I wanted to draw. And I managed to draw it, which surprised me, to be honest. Considering I haven't drawn digitally in around 3 months, I'd say this is a very good attempt of a digital drawing. Now, unfortunately, because I was very lazy and very unsure of how to do 1 or 2 point perspective, so I had to use my phone for this and I couldn't record it. However, I did do this other drawing, which is from the perspective of inside the treehouse. The door would be the point of view here. First thing off the bat wasn't great. Didn't know how to do 1 point perspective, so I had to watch many YouTube videos to find out how that worked. Once after, I think it was about, this took me so long to do, about like 30 minutes in, I finally got the gist of how to do it, and I created the bed and the shelves. But then I thought it looked wonky and I tried to redo it, but I gave up with that and went back to the old version and just edited it. This was probably the most frustrating things I've ever tried to draw on. There's so many straight lines, so I just used this straight line brush tool on Medibang instead of like the pencil. I didn't sketch anything out, I just went for it and drew everything, because sketching would be too difficult and take too long to do in point perspective. The wood texture I didn't draw, I actually downloaded a texture from the internet. It was free, so I was like, hell yeah. And I just moved it into the point of the perspective using guidelines from the perspective. That's how you do point perspective. I added trees outside to match the surrounding from the other video? The other drawing. I think I'm losing my marbles. Anyway, I wanted the fridges to be colourful to match the aesthetic of colourful and playful, but a bit all over the place. As well as the walls, the rug was also, I just found a picture and edited it into the shape that I need it to be. I think my favourite part of this entire drawing is my actual real life picture of my baby snail, which is my baby ball python, in the top enclosure. I did do some plans for this before, but I have always had this idea and this image of my head of what this room would look like, and bringing it to life just really puts a smile on my face, because now when someone's like, where do you want to be in 5 years time, I can just show them this picture. My second favourite part is the little mushrooms in the second enclosure down. That's because my favourite thing to do is decorate things with mushrooms. So even in baby snail's enclosure now, he has about 5 mushrooms. They're not real, they're fake. But they just add a touch of cuteness to his enclosure. I wish for this piece it does look a bit blocky. I think the bird's alright because I added some smoothness. But definitely on the counters, the stove and the fridge, they look a bit blocky and out of place. The enclosures are fine because that's what they look like in real life. Overall, this piece was very successful in recreating my vision that I had for this. Next up is the creation process of drawing baby snail, my pet python. What I did was I started off with a reference in the corner of my screen, and I just looked at that and drew what I saw with a pencil, and then I created a new layer, added a colour layer, and used the eyedropper tool to colour him in. I did make my skin a little paler so it contrasted more with his design, because this wasn't, my skin looked a bit too dark, so I did make my skin a little lighter. I think this piece is actually really cool. It definitely very much looks like baby snail. I could have added in some texture, like so you could see his scales more, but I feel like that would have just been so much effort for what it wasn't worth. There isn't much to say about this, it's just a good digital drawing, I guess. Yeah, baby snail does look very cute in it, I must admit. Next up is the illustration I did with me and my best friend Keely at a picnic. Basically, the backstory behind this piece is that me and Keely, before this whole corona thing started, we were going to meet up in the Easter holiday, and I was going to go down to her house in Poole, which is where I used to live before I moved to London. And we were going to catch the bus down to Blandford, which is the town I lived in before that, and we were going to go walk to Weston, which is the village before that I used to live in. And there is this very famous tree within my family called the bouncy tree, where basically there's one branch that just hangs off. It's quite a low tree, and it's very bouncy. It's probably snapped off now because of how many times me and my siblings would jump on it. But it was very fun. It's one of my fondest memories. So we were going to go down there and we were going to have a little picnic, because Keely wasn't doing so great and I wasn't doing so great, so we thought it would be a very good plan to do. So again, for this piece I didn't have a reference, because if I could find the bouncy tree it would be very surprising, because the Weston is a small village in the middle of nowhere. It's very... and why would there be a picture of a single tree there? Who knows? Anyway, so I just went from what I could remember, and I started out with a sketch with a pencil, once again, adding in the details as I go. I started colouring using the same palette as I did for the treehouse, and added the same sort of effects in my trees and the little flowers on the grass. For the background I just picked out some dark blue colours and added a gradient behind them on a separate layer, and with that gradient I then got an airbrush tool for this yellow and airbrushed over the green so it would blend in, making it look like the sun was going down. And I think this was a very effective thing, and I think this was extremely effective. For the shadows, I actually figured out a life hack. What I did was I got plain black, selected the black colour, and then I just created another layer, drew over where I wanted the shadows and lowered the opacity until it was at the right levels and right hues that I wanted it to be. And I think this worked extremely well, especially with that red / pigment blanket. I was not about to go in with each square and try and add a different colour for shadows. I do think that the two characters in the front are a little too bright for it to look very realistic. It does look quite whimsical. I love the tree. I think the characters do look a bit strange though. They don't look very naturally blended in with the scenery, especially because they have no shadows on them, which I probably should have thought about. But I think that's the only downside to this piece. Overall, I would say that the tree definitely gave the effect that I wanted it to, and I think I could have made the two characters a little bit bigger, but it does then even that add to the effect of fairy-like whimsical creatures, which is a consistent theme throughout all my projects, funnily enough. But yeah, I would give this a solid 8 out of 10. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and like, please. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow.